And we are entering the lodge here.
No, I don't even know how to do 10 minutes. I'm not sure what to give them.
There's your cooking pit.
Big things they need. I mean, they're doing June, which is talking about.
Up there would have been the hole for the smoke to go out. And this would have held a family of about 20 people. And everything here belonged to the woman. That's a buffalo bladder.
It sure is.
And what that was used for was to carry water. If it works inside the buffalo, it works just as good outside the buffalo.
Our kids get a little grossed out when you tell them what this is and what it was used for. It's like people are drinking water out of the bladder of the buffalo. I'm like, they cleaned it. It's not. So, yeah.
Well, once you feel it the first time and empty it out, it'd probably be
Right, I
fine
mean,
anyway.
you know,
I mean,
it's not, but it's just, you know, oh, that
Yeah.
come, you know, kids associate that
Yeah.
with, you know,
yeah.
when you clear your bladder.
And this right here
Right, so they're like, oh, that's so good.
is the buffalo tail. And he used it to swat flies off of it.
Yeah.
And guess what the natives used it for? To swat flies. Things haven't changed all that much.
But there are a cool thing that you've suggested so far. What's it made out of?
Bones.
Ribs.
Ribs,
Yeah.
right, from the bison. Okay, and they're strung together on a wooden stringer, and they're tied together at the other end, and there's a handle. That is a child's sled.
It's not big enough for him to.
Big enough for your bottom to sit on. That's something that you would string together and you would use on one of the hills along the river, or even maybe on the outside of the earth lodge, if you're very young and
Wow.
you know, afraid of the hill. But that's a child's sled, and things like that are really important, I think, to talk about in here, because I think people have this idea of the tribes on the plains, and maybe generally the tribes in the West, that they are very good at surviving. Right, like that's all they're doing out here is they're scratching out a living in a really difficult environment, especially here in North Dakota. It's harsh. Things like this, I think, teach us something a little bit beyond the idea that the tribes out here are just surviving. As a culture, at what point do people have leisure time? If they're worried about survival, do you have leisure time?
No.
You don't. Leisure activities only get created when there is time beyond what you have to do to just make it. So if you have time to sled as a boy, that's an indication that the tribes out here are not surviving out here. They are thriving out here. They have figured out existence in this place and adapted themselves in such a way that they have the ability to not worry 24 hours a day, 7 days a week about surviving.
This is a cache pit.
They're still in cash somewhere at
And no,
the
they probably were not inside the lodge. They would have been outside. But look at the size of it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Very large.